Yo, what up, y'all? I'm talking about the biggest mistakes as a skinny beginner and how to avoid them. I'm gonna try to keep it real quick, real simple, real informative. No fluff, just real quick, concise information. Gonna try to keep this video short for you guys. Just so you know, I've been lifting for 15 years as a complete drug-free natty lifter, and within those 15 years, I've also spent a decade's worth of my time researching this topic. So that's everything from training, nutrition, recovery, optimization, programming like technique, form, deadlift, squat, OHP, etc., 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 all types of things. So I think I'm a little qualified. I've also helped countless people go from skinny to strong and from fat to skinny as well too. And that's just another thing as well. So, like I said, I'll try to keep the video short. So let me just get right into it. The first mistake a lot of guys make is that they overcomplicate everything. A lot of guys have too many exercises and too much volume. So in other words, there's so many exercises online, there's so many different training routines, and there's so many different gurus out there, and there's a lot of conflicting information. So a lot of you guys don't know who to listen to, who to trust, or which workouts to pick, what exercises are the best for your goals, etc., etc. And on top of that, there's also too much volume in some cases where a lot of guys, especially if you're a young, natural, skinny guy trying to put on drug-free muscle, you're putting on too much volume for the wrong exercises or the wrong muscle groups. So each muscle group can only take so much workload as a natural lifter. And if you're going way too overboard and you're doing way too much volume for a certain muscle group, eventually you're just going to start hitting diminishing returns and you're not going to be as effective with your time. Another thing is that a lot of guys like to search for secret advanced techniques. This is a complete waste of time, and it's going to waste so much of your time. Bodybuilding and putting on muscle as a young, natural, skinny lifter trying to put on drug-free muscle is super simple. There's only a few core things that you need to worry about if you want to actually put on size. So we're talking about hitting your nutrients, your nutrient goals, your goals in the kitchen, etc. So we're talking about calories. We're talking about getting the right amount of protein, staying hydrated. After that, we're talking about training. So are you training the right muscle groups with the right amount of sets and the right amount of reps for each set? If you get those two things, you're well on your way. The other third thing to worry about is progressive overload. So are you properly challenging the muscle groups that you want to grow in order for them to actually have a demand to grow? The last thing is a lot of you guys do this thing called program hopping. This one's a real bad one, and it goes hand in hand with there being too many exercises and too many gurus out there. A lot of you guys will hop from program to program to program to program instead of doing your best to just try and stick to one. All these programs have different things that they offer, but rather than hopping from program to program, I would much rather have you just stick to one and stick to it for like 4 months. At the very minimum, like 3 months if you can. If you're not even giving a program more than like 3 months worth of your time to try it, like you're not even giving it a shot, giving it a chance. So what can you do to solve a couple of these issues with, the mistake of overcomplicating everything? Well, for one, just focus on basic compound movements, especially if you're a young, natural, skinny guy and you're trying to put on drug-free muscle. Compound lifts are going to be like your bread and butter for putting on size and putting on actual muscle that like looks good on your frame and looks good on your physique. It's okay to do isolation work and all these different accessory lifts. Just if you are going to do them towards the middle of your workout or towards the end of your workout, and do your compound lifts first. I had already mentioned this, but don't forget to prioritize progressive overload pretty much each time you go to the gym, and stick to one program and at least try it for a few months. Okay. Me, early on in my career, I would try all these different fancy machines. I would try all these different exercises. I was pretty much trying to do something new every single exercise, every single workout. And, it's kind of fun. It's fun to try different things, but you really need to, in order to properly apply progressive overload, you need to track your lifts and make sure you're actually progressing on an exercise. If you're just doing one exercise and never switching or consistently switching around, you'll never be able to tell if you're actually progressing or not. So pick an exercise, do it for a few weeks at least, try to apply progressive overload, and then if you want to switch, you can switch then. Also, I used to program hop all the time. I would try different things. And I've also had clients who would do the same thing. Rather than sticking to one program and trying to do it for at least a few months, they couldn't go a week without switching programs just because they felt like there's always a new, better thing out there. There's always something better I could try. But honestly, the time you're going to spend looking for programs is time wasted when you could just stick to one and work on it and give it a few months. Okay, beginner mistake number 2, ignoring nutrition and thinking just eating more is enough. A lot of young, natural, skinny lifters out there who are trying to put on drug-free muscle, maybe like yourself, tend to ignore nutrition. A lot of you guys might just eat junk food, eat fast food, and just do whatever you can in order to get your calories. Now, the truth is that you might get your calories and you might hit your calorie goals, like your calorie goal intake for that day if you go that method. But the issue when you do that is there's an increased chance of you gaining too much fat way too fast. Plus, the other thing is you're going to feel like crap. Like you're going to be super lethargic. You're going to have no energy, which in turn, if you have no energy and you're feeling lethargic, is going to affect your performance in the gym during your training. And if you don't train properly, like if you're not putting in enough effort, if you're not trying hard enough, you're not going to challenge the muscles enough in order for them to grow. So basically, it's a huge snowball effect of you eating like crap, which makes you feel like crap, which makes you train like crap, which basically decreases the effectiveness and how much gains you're getting. So what you should do instead is literally super easy. Just focus on whole foods, focus on nutrient-dense foods. Something I tell all my clients is if you're going to go to the grocery store, you're going to shop, get all your stuff from the outside aisles of the grocery store. The outside aisles is going to be your best bet for finding your best choices for when it comes to foods. Typically, the outside aisles is where all the whole foods are, so that's where you're going to find your fish, your deli, your deli with all your meats, your seafood, your veggies, your fruits, etc., etc. When you start shopping in the inside section of the grocery store, that's typically where you find all your processed foods, all your sugary foods. And if you just want an easy tip, just avoid those aisles and it'll make shopping super easy. Another thing is inconsistent meal timing. A lot of you guys will just randomly eat throughout the day, and that typically leads to you guys not hitting your calories because you might eat one big meal for you might not eat the entire day, and then all of a sudden you get hungry at like 6 p.m. Well, I'll just eat one big meal, and you eat one big meal, but it turns out you get full way too fast. And if you were to actually track your calories for that meal, there's a good chance it's not enough calories for the entire day. So a thing that I recommend for my clients is that try to eat consistently throughout the day rather than just 1 or 2 big meals, because typically as like young skinny guys, that 1 or 2 big meals you might eat is probably not enough calories. So I'd rather have you split up your meals throughout the days, track your calories for each one. That way you can, relatively get close to hitting your goal each day with how much food you're eating. Another issue you guys have as a beginner is underestimating your protein needs. For those of you who don't know, it's super easy to figure out how much protein you need for the day. It's super simple. Basically, you take how much you weigh in pounds. So for example, I weigh 180 pounds. If I'm trying to build muscle and put on size, it's super easy. You take how much you weigh in pounds and you eat that much in grams. So for me, for my example, I weigh 180 pounds. I would eat 180 grams of protein each day. If you weigh 130 pounds, you eat 130 grams of protein. If you weigh 100 pounds, you eat 100 grams of protein each day. Super easy, super simple. That makes it easy. Another thing to focus on to kind of solve these issues is to make sure you're actually in caloric surplus. And for those of you who don't know, a caloric surplus is basically eating enough calories each day to the point that your body is forced to grow because you are in a surplus. So how do you figure out your caloric surplus? Super easy. Basically, you go to a website like TDEE and you go to the TDEE calculator and you fill in your age. This is going to give you your maintenance calories. And I'll explain real quick. Your maintenance calories is how many calories your body needs to maintain its weight. It's literally in the name. So in other words, here I'll just fill it out really quick as an example. That way you guys can see. So you put your age, your weight, your height, your activity level. So I work out like 3 to 5 days a week probably, including like basketball plus lifting. So calculate. So right here, my maintenance calories is 2770. I usually round because it makes it easier to track. So I would either go 2700 or 2800. So let's say it's 2700 for example. So if I eat 2,700 calories every single day, I'm not going to go up in weight. I'm not going to go down in weight because that's my maintenance calories. Now, if I eat below that, say for example, I eat 2,200 calories each day, I'm going to lose weight. If I eat above that, aka like 3,200, I'm going to gain weight. So it's super simple. That's all it really is. If you're trying to be in a caloric surplus, like I mentioned here, you basically figure out your maintenance calories and you need to eat above it in order for you to start gaining weight and putting on size. So that's about it. Hopefully the video was short. I'm going to try to keep it concise. That's about it. I'm going to close the video off. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you're looking for more information or if you want to learn more from me or check out some of the things I offer, there's a link in the description below. You guys can check that out. Peace out. See you guys in the next one.